Hey everybody, it's Carrie Roan from Facebook Brooks with the Empower Plant and the EmPowerHour today. Brought to you by everybody here at Facebook Brooks. And with us today, we have a very special guest. Why am I getting feedback? Can you guys hear me?
And I can hear your echo.
Someone has their video on.
Why am I getting feedback? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear your echo.
I've got an
video.
Oh,
it's probably mom.
Okay, well, it's good now. Well, anyways, we've got Miss Bianca with us. She is the owner of a creative station, and we've got her here today to talk about digital marketing, the importance of a brand, and all the fabulous things that she's doing with marketing. So welcome, Bianca.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And before we jump into you, let's talk to Rose first. Rose Caswick is our partner, and she is the, what do you call it when you're a professional mixer?
Mixologist.
A mixologist. She's our resident mixologist, and she's making us drink this green like goo today. So
where is the caramel, Rose? Where is the caramel? I promised people.
I did the caramel rims. This is supposed to be a caramel apple. I did the caramel rims, and my caramel sauce is too drippy. It dripped all over the outside of the glass.
Drip it inside though.
So I transferred. I transferred.
Ooh, this is good though.
So it's apple and caramel vodka and butterscotch, and it's
actually really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Bianca, do you have one in there, Bianca?
I have one.
Yay, cheers.
Yes, cheers, everybody.
So Dana sent me the recipe, so
if you have anyone to blame her for sure.
And credit goes to her.
Wow, Rose, surprisingly, this is really good. It looks like something the dentist would give me, but it tastes really yummy.
It tastes the green, scary looking drinks. Yeah.
It tastes like a caramel apple, so yay. All right, and we've got Kia Thomas joining us and Whitney Morris, and then I think Dana's on the phone too, but Dana's not here in person today. So Bianca, tell us what you do.
Okay, so I am the owner of a creative station, which is a marketing firm, digital marketing agency. So we work with businesses to elevate their brand, take their business to social media or online platforms, and just kind of elevate people's businesses. So that's my main gig. But I'm a woman of many trades, but that's what I do mostly.
Tell us about your side hustles then.
So initially I started off in digital marketing as a blogger. So I have a blog called The Girl with Style, and that's how this whole thing started, is blogging and doing brand deals and kind of elevating that website. And then I found a love for marketing while doing that. So that's also something that I do as well, is like blog, and I love fashion. I love all things girly, which I wasn't always that way. So it's kind of like a new thing. And so anyway, so that's also something that I'm working on. I'm working on revamping that website and bringing A Girl with Style back, because it did take a step back after I started a creative station.
So why is branding important? And I think the reason I ask this is because there's a lot of people that are old school and they don't believe in social media, really for business purposes. They don't believe in branding. They think it's too much. They think you're just trying to be popular or whatever. So why is it important for businesses and for people nowadays?
Well, it's super important because we're in a world that's just clamoring for our attention at every corner. So no matter if it's like driving down the street and looking at different billboards, or listening to the radio, or just being on social media in general, something is trying to catch our attention. And if you don't have a solidified brand that people recognize, it's gonna be harder for you to get your whatever you're selling, whatever you're trying to get people to basically consume. It's going to be harder for you because people don't recognize you, and a lot of people do not do business with things that they don't recognize. So it's super important to have a brand.
Yeah, and so we're a personal injury law firm, and we work really, really hard on our brand so that people will recognize us, so that when they're when they're in a car accident, or they slip and fall, or there's a wrongful death situation or a motorcycle accident, they will remember us because they'll remember the brand. So it's not just about trying to put our image out there because we think that we're fancy or we think we're cool or we want people to see us all the time. It's so that people will know who we are and we're here when they need us, because obviously not everybody needs us every day. So we need to do something so that we're memorable.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing that people struggle with branding, is feeling like they're talking about themselves too much, or they're talking about their business too much, or they're vain, or, I'm super fancy. And I struggle with it too. Sometimes when I'm posting or I'm putting things out there about my specific brand, I'm like, oh, I'm just tired of talking about me, so it is something you have to kind of consciously do and be effective at, because it is going to get tiresome eventually, like talking about yourself over and over. But the repetition is key. Like repetition and showing up is just as important as building the brand.
So I'm so glad you brought that up, because one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I was kind of uncertain about how to ask you this because it sounds like a very pointed question, but it does seem kind of narcissistic, right? And so people that see our brand all over the place and they see my face on a bus or Dana's face on a bus, they're like, oh my God, you guys are such narcissists. That's not what it's about at all. So how do you balance too much with just enough? Like where is the line? Like, where's the sweet spot? So that you're not a narcissist or self-absorbed,
Well, I think narcissism is an internal characteristic. It's a personal characteristic, whereas a brand is external. It's representative of a company, and business is never personal, right? So business is what it is. I'm going to show up and I'm going to be here in your face every single day. That's what McDonald's does. All day, every day. That's what Coca-Cola does. That's what all of these major brands that are well known and that we know to be everyday brands, is because they show up every day in our faces. So it's like, it's hard to say that there is a line unless you're talking about a personal belief, right? So like as a person, it can be overwhelming at times and you can feel that way, but I don't think that if it's for a brand or it's for a company, then there's really no line, honestly.
Yeah. It's interesting. So on this Zoom, we've got Kia Thomas and Whitney Morris, who do our branding and our marketing and our PR work. And then you've got me and Rose, who are our litigators and our lawyers. So it seems like it's really natural for Kia and Whitney to talk about branding and doing branding. And for Rose and me, it's a little bit awkward because we're supposed to be lawyers, and then you also have to be out there branding. So Rose, what do you think about all the branding stuff, and how does it make you feel? And does it push you outside of your comfort zone?
Oh, I mean, yeah, this is obviously, that part of the job is the part that I never thought about, going into law school, that you're going to be doing commercials and doing photo shoots and getting your makeup done and being in parades and, stuff like that. But, the stuff that we do is fun, or it can be, not all of it, but a lot of it is fun. It can be overwhelming for me to be out there all the time. So I guess, do you have any tips on, how to promote yourself and network and do all that stuff without it becoming overwhelming?
Good question.
That's a good question. That's a really good question, because I frequently get overwhelmed, as a lot of people would think that I'm an extrovert, but I'm really not. I think I'm a balance of the two. I get drained being around people too much, right? So, and I think that's natural to people in general, but sometimes being around people and then posting about it and then putting it there and then doing this and that and that. And it's like, okay, I need a break, right? So one of the things that I do is I stay within the moment. So for instance, if I'm at an event such as this, or not even this is a Facebook Live, but a networking event, right? So I can take pictures with people and take videos with people and do, interact within that space, but not post that day, right? Because that can be a lot. That can be too much. Yeah. It can be too much interaction, too much staying within the moment. So I'll just interact at that event. And then maybe the next day or even the next week, I'll say, oh, this was a great event that I attended. It was fun, things of that nature. And you can always use content later on. And I think that's a big thing that people should understand, is that when you create content, you don't have to use it that day. Nobody knows when you went to this network event. Nobody knows when, you know, you took this picture. I share pictures from years ago. I look the same. Thank you, Jesus, right? But I look the same, but if it's a good picture and it's like relevant to right now and I'm looking like a bum, like I'm gonna post it. So yeah, so that, I think that's the biggest thing, is like having the balance of knowing that you don't have to, you know, do all the things at one time.
Yeah, that's really insightful, because then you don't get overwhelmed. Because I find that if I'm on a trip or I'm at an event, I start thinking about, what am I going to post? Oh my God, I have to post. When am I going to post it? What pictures am I going to use? Oh, I look fat in that picture. I look gross in this picture.
And then you start getting notifications at the same time you're actually talking to people.
I have no notifications on my phone.
No
I turn off every single, the only notification I get is phone calls. That's it. I can't, and text messages. But other than that, I have no social media notifications, because it's,
that's really smart.
Yeah,
that way you don't get overwhelmed, you know, and that way you stay in the moment. You have to stay present in the moment in order to be a human and have that great experience, and not worry about your posting or your notifications or any of that stuff.
Exactly.
So Kia, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go Bianca, you're up.
Because now I lost my train of thought. This drink is kind of kinking in a little bit.
Oh, that's a Rose signature. That will happen. Yes.
Listen, Rose sneaks up on us, and she might be poisoning us.
I made the post for the drink, and how many, there's like 3 sources of liquor in there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, Rose could very well be like poisoning us all really, really slowly.
It's a feature, not a bug, okay?
So Kia, what are your thoughts and what are your questions for Miss Bianca? Do you guys know each other already, since you're in the same like social networking kind of branding community?
We actually do. You know, I'm a blogger as well. And she was actually on one of my panels in regards to the professionalism, you know, taking it from one level to the next. You know, one of the biggest things in regards to your personal brand, it's very synonymous with PR, you know, driving the narrative and making sure that we're down the right yellow brick road, right? Here's one of my biggest questions. So what are some of, I know what I run into, what are some of the things that you run into with your clients of getting them to get outside of their box and actually, you know, hearing the different topics that you're trying to get them to understand of this will be best for you, not necessarily best for them. And I'm only saying this on the topic of, you know, small businesses need to know about this. Entrepreneurs need to know, like, from different levels. We pretty much know, basic Brooks, you know, what our avatar is, you know, but what are some of the challenges that you deal with when talking to a client and trying to get them to understand what their actual personal brand is after you've done your research?
Well, one of the biggest struggles that I have with new clients or people who are trying to work with me is that they don't want to post for themselves, or they don't want to post on their pages, or things of that. That's the biggest thing. They're just like, just take it over and leave me out of it. And sometimes we can do that depending on how established the business is, but sometimes you have to include yourself because people want to do business with people that they know. So the thing is that in the beginning, you're gonna have to let your friends and family know, because that's the only audience you have. Like, so that's one of the biggest things, is letting people know that you have to start there, because how can you build an audience without people? You have to have like some people that you can send a message to and say, hey, can you share this with the next person, or can you do this? And so that's the biggest thing, is they don't want to do it. And sometimes, you know, I have to convince them otherwise, or sometimes I post for them. So I'll come in and I'll just act as them. Like, I have clients that that don't want to post on their personal profiles, and I'm like, okay, so just give me your information and I will post for you as you. And that was actually the train of thought that I was going to say earlier, is that Rose, if you do feel overwhelmed, sometimes you can have an assistant that can take over your social media, and you can just send over the pictures and they can schedule out the post or do the things that you need to do. Because after a while, somebody who works with you knows how you speak. And so that can be beneficial.
Yeah,
So you
that's
don't
what
have to
Kia was
show
really asking, tips to make Rose do things.
Oh, I think Rose actually posts more than all of us on her personal accounts.
Yeah.
I've seen her Twitter.
I do like to tweet.
tweeting is fun. Tweeting is fun.
Yeah.
That can survive in Twitter, because Twitter is a totally different beast.
It is.
It
way
is.
different than
It's a different community.
So,
for sure.
Bianca, how does somebody come up with what they want their brand to be? Like, so Dana, our partner, has a very, very, very distinct brand. You know, she's about empowering women and girls, obviously about, you know, helping a lot of people in the community and about serving as the best personal injury lawyer that she can be. And she's got a very strong brand that's out there. I don't really have a brand. I think Rose and I are like little mini branders. So how do we develop our brand? Like, how do we know what our brand should be, and what do we call it, and how do we put it out there? How does all that work?
Well, with personal branding, it's just who you are, right? So what are you passionate about? What do you really love to do? Like you already mentioned that you play soccer. So that's a big part of your brand, right? Because you're an athlete. So that's a group of people that you can identify with that maybe Dana doesn't identify with. So thinking of the things that you love to do, like I love marketing, and that's why I started a marketing brand. I love fashion. That's why I started blogging. I started doing different things that actually drove me and that I really like doing. And that's part of the personal brand, right? And that's part of life. Like you want to do the things that you love. So you don't want to build a brand that later on in life you're kind of miserable with because you don't really like doing what you told people that you like to do.
Whitney, what are your thoughts on this? Whitney has been marketing for Basic Brooks for as long as I've been here. So what are your thoughts and questions for Bianca?
Oh, wow. I have a lot of things. I just wrote down some comments here. Way back when we started this, the whole like narcissistic idea. It's interesting that when we post selfies or just pics of us with people, like me personally, I have like 300 followers on my personal Instagram, but I always get the most on pictures of me, like most likes, most engagement. And I kind of have a theory that I think it's people being nosy.
Oh yeah,
they want to know what you look like. They want to know about you. Like, oh, people are nosy. So
people are tuned into people's lifestyle, especially with social media now. Like people want to know what kind of life do you live? What are you doing? Like
they don't care about your cute dog.
They care about your cute dog too. So, I mean, that's a part of your lifestyle. Like I have some dogs that I live with and, you know, people love the dogs, but they're really interested in like, what's your day-to-day? What do you do? Like, because they want to relate to you.
Yeah. So basically pictures with the dogs, like holding them.
Yeah, hold the dogs.
Listen, we all know that Bruiser got the most likes out of any lawyer at Basic Brooks. It was Dana's dog Bruiser that was the star of the show until he got banished from the office for pooping in the office. So sorry, Dana.
He's a menace. I also wanted to say that I love what you said about personal posts. I think we've looked at some analytics of our posts, and obviously we have to do promotions, but when we talk about a birthday in the office, or we talk about, you know, something that one of the attorneys did, you know, this week or whatever, I mean, those people want to know. People want to, you know, if they're going to do business with you, having that personal like experience and knowing who you're doing business with is, I think, vastly important. And I love what you said about not posting the same day, because I get kind of perfectionist. Like I kind of want you to comment on that. Like I want to make sure I'm doing some good filters, and like I always feel like I'm doing the worst filters. Like I feel like my photo editing is terrible, but I always put it off because I just can't stand editing, and captions are, you know, pretty difficult sometimes too. So
Google them. Google the captions. You don't have to make them up. No.
What? Really?
Yes.
Wait, explain. How do you find captions on Google? What?
You can Google, like, say for instance, you have like, okay, let's say you play soccer and you just won, right? And you're at the goalie, not the goalie. You're not, I don't know if you're the goalie, but the soccer scenario. Okay, you're the winner. Type in Google winning captions for Instagram or captures
Oh my
for
God.
Give you a whole list of
they'll
them.
give you a whole list of captions, and you can just go through them and you're just like, that sounds like me, and you can tweak them. You don't have to use the same exact wording, but it'll give you inspiration.
So
You
so
don't
this is
have
all done for us already. Oh my God, this is like so eye-opening.
It's all worth it.
Oh my gosh, Whitney, I'm
that's
sorry. I think I interrupted you with my mind blowing.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say
She was saying perfectionist. You're trying to.
Oh, and I love that you said like you were cool on stories. I feel bad for the people that follow me on Snapchat because I just like have a thought and I'm like, oh, let me just tell everyone about it and see if someone no one ever responds. No one ever, like, I mean, once in a while someone will say something, but yeah, most of the time I'm just rambling to myself. So but yeah, I like that you say that that's a good way to stay in the moment. And oftentimes like I'm on Instagram and I'm just looking at stories sometimes. Like I'm not even scrolling through the posts.
Exactly.
So I love that that's like more of a thing. The question I have, so what if you like what is the benefit, if there is any, of building your personal brand if you're not even in a business, if you're just a person and you want to have like maybe a good Instagram or a good like foundation? What do you think about that?
Well, it's really important nowadays. It's important to a career oriented person, right? Because now people look to social media when they're hiring or when they're trying to look for new candidates for jobs. They're going to search your social media and make sure that you're not like, a wild girl or something along those lines. So not even having like a tailored social media, but something that actually represents you as a person in a good light is important. And that's a form of personal branding, is just making sure that your reputation online is A1, especially if you're looking to elevate your career, if you're looking to just kind of expand yourself in different areas of life. So it's important for everybody, not just like an entrepreneur or somebody that's, working within a company. So yeah.
That's interesting. So it sounds almost like you can start your brand just personally with whatever your interests are. And then as you build professionally, you can kind of work your profession into it. And then you wind up having a brand both professionally and personally.
Exactly. I mean, it's based on what you want. What do you want to be known for? Like, who are you, right? And just putting those elements out. It's like, if you want to be known for being a lawyer and being, and having great hair because you have great hair, then that's fine. But that, you can put both of those things out and people can enjoy both forms of content. So and I think at this point, because of social media, technically everybody has a personal brand, whether they want it or not, because that's what a profile is, right? When you open a profile, you're looking at somebody's personal brand, you're looking at somebody's life. So even if you're not building it on purpose, you're building a story because you're sharing your kids or you're sharing your husband or whatever happened at work or your besties or anything like that. So you're still kind of building a personal brand anyway. So if you want to be conscious about it, then you can, curate the kind of content that you put out.
So that's fascinating because I went to Seattle recently on a case, and Brandon from our law firm went with us, and we were doing lots of different things for a client. We were doing a day in the life video for her, and he would take pictures of what we were doing. And to me, it was just regular work because that's what we do as personal injury lawyers. We do whatever it takes for our clients. And then Brandon would curate it and cultivate it in such a way. And when he put it on social media, I was like, oh, that's really pretty. And that picture speaks volumes. And I can't believe that that's what we were doing, because we do it as part of our jobs and we don't realize that it might look interesting to other people and it might be part of our brand. So like people need to,
behind the scenes is like, it's almost better than the actual curated content.
Yep.
Like behind the scene, like the photo shoot is great, right? The picture that you get from the photo shoot, but put a behind the scenes picture of you at the photo shoot and it'll do just as well. Like people like to see the process. People want to see, well, if you say that you're a lawyer, how do you do it? Like what is the day to day, right? Like you said, a day in a life. So yeah, it's important to do that as well. Just show the process of what you do.
So a little birdie told me that you have a master's in public health, maybe?
I do have a master's in
So looks like you're on a different career path, right? So how did that all work? Tell us about that.
Well, so I started school and I had kind of a rough patch with school, right? So I got dismissed from a program, a grad program. And so I was lost in the world trying to figure out, all I knew was school. And so I'm a good student. I can take tests and pass them. And so I was trying to just figure out, where to go, what can I do? And my undergrad is in allied health. So I have a health science bachelor's. And so I was just trying to figure out what's my next step, and school was always going to be the option because that's all I knew. And so I get into a master's of public health program and really love it. Went through the whole program, and it was probably the 2 semesters before I graduated that I discovered, okay, well, maybe this might not be for me. And it was only because, this wasn't the only thing that the information, public health is important. It's everyday health. And it's crazy because I didn't think that I would ever be in a pandemic or epidemic or anything like that, right? And now we're all in the same building, all in different rooms, right? And so it's like, it's crazy to think that like the knowledge that I did learn is now happening in the world. And so I kind of am using my background a little bit nowadays, but yeah, that's how it started. I took a communications course. So there's a course in our curriculum called risk communication, which is the communication of basically like most health information, especially in a pandemic right now. Most of the communication about COVID-19 and COVID vaccinations is risk communication, right? And so in that, we had to form like a press release and we had to make a campaign. And at the time I had already started A Girl with Style, which was my blog. And I didn't know that the marketing portion of it is what I loved. I thought it was just the blogging portion. And then I get into this class and I'm like,
mind blown.
You mean to tell me that all this time I loved marketing? And so instead of going back to school, which to me was just not the option at that point because I was 2 semesters away from graduating with my master's, I decided to educate myself. So I started reading a lot of books on marketing, and in my mind, I was like, okay, I can say that I know marketing, but I actually have to be qualified. I have to look like I know marketing. So I started taking internships with marketing agencies and started taking positions as like social media account managers and things of that nature. And so then I matriculated into being director of digital marketing at 2 agencies here in Tallahassee.
Oh my God. Well, you're not an underachiever, but you know what? It was really brave of you to do that. And it must have been really scary. When I was in college, I wanted to be a marine biologist and I kind of stumbled off of that and got into philosophy and kind of stumbled off of that and went to law school, and you kind of wind up finding your way. But I mean, it's scary, so how did you reassure yourself that you were just going to go for what you loved and get up and kind of give up what was probably a safer profession?
It was definitely safer. It was 1000% safer.
Yeah.
I could have gotten a job before I graduated. Most of my classmates did, and I chose to quit. I was actually working in healthcare, and I told my mom after I graduated that I would be quitting. And she's like, quitting to do what exactly? And I told her I was going to be a blogger and I was going to do social media marketing. People thought I was insane. Like they really did. I had calls from family members. Like my mom she was freaking out. And so my family members called me and they were just like, girl, what are you doing? Like take a job, start your business on the side, but in my mind, I don't know why I thought that like, that's not an option. My option is start this business and go full, like be in marketing. That's it. Like I don't even want to take a real job. Right. So how I reassured myself, Honestly, I really can't. I'm a very big faith person, and I really had to put my faith in God, honestly, and that really was like something that I had to press down on. And another big thing is my friends. Honestly, they confirmed, or they reassured me. There were times where I was like, I don't think I should be doing this. And I remember specifically a conversation I had with a friend of mine. She said, "Are you paying your bills?" And I was like, "Yes." She's like, "Are you asking anybody for money?" I was like, "No." And she's like, "So what is the issue here?" And I was like,
Absolutely.
"You are right."
I think Kia knows what you're talking about. Kia, you probably could have
Can I interject 1 second?
Yeah.
I just love that about our millennial generation, the idea that, no, we don't have to suffer. We don't have to suffer for 12, 15 years in a career we don't like, wake up one day and choose a different path. And I think Kia and I both went down a path and switched. I wanted to be a doctor from 14 to 26, and I'm 27. So I just now like made that decision because I like looked at the future. That's not the life I want. I don't want to be beholden to a nighttime schedule. I'm not a morning person. I don't want to be at the hospital at 5 a.m. I don't want to do that, you know? So, you know, that freedom that comes with choosing your own career and choosing, you know, happiness over, I mean, we have one life to live. Why are we feeling we have to struggle? I just love that. So I'm glad that you went down that path. That's awesome. Okay, sorry. Go, Kia.
Yes.
Same with you, Whitney, though. I mean, Whitney wanted to be a doctor ever since I've known her. So it's really impressive, Whitney, to hear that you're like, you know what, I'm going to embrace what I really love and I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to make it work. I mean, just like Bianca has made it work. Like failure is not an option. And there's just not that many. It's hard. It's hard to be a woman. It's hard to be a young woman and do that and not do what you're supposed to do. Or, you know, a lot of women are not risk averse. So it's hard to take that big risk when you're a woman, and especially a young woman, and do that.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing,
I'm inherently creative, so you probably are too. And when you're in a health field, you're kind of pigeonholed, and you have to like make time for hobbies. And when you're in health, like, you don't really have time for hobbies. So incorporating that into your career is what my goal was, and I imagine Kia and Bianca probably feel the same way. Absolutely.
Yeah, Kia, what was because Kia, I think you have a master's, don't you?
I do. I am undergrad broadcast journalism, and then I went to get my master's in entertainment business. It was all for me to avoid taking the LSAT.
So you are the smartest one of all.
I want to go to law school. I want to do this. I'm a very analytical person, and I'm a very, I'm a perfectionist, and I'm also a planner. I have definitely learned working here, it's best to just jump and then let's see what happens as we're falling. And to be absolutely honest, that has been scary as hell. And however, we have always come out as pure gold. And I think that has a lot to do with just thinking on the fly. But that also goes back to like the 5 Ps of, you know, branding yourself. Or just branding anything from personal, pointed, you know, being purposeful, prioritizing, and then, you know, ultimately being profitable. Those are all the things that you have to think about. And just making sure, like how Bianca was saying as well, making sure that she had that to back her. She wasn't in marketing, but she took those steps to step out and make sure that she understood it. I guess rolling into that, one of my biggest things that I have to do is make sure, and I think people forget about that, I have to make sure that I'm watching the narrative. So when I do recommendations, it's for me to be proactive. But, you know, dealing with attorneys, I love y'all to death. I love y'all to death. But those recommendations, I have to pound them in, or either I have to be like, you know what? I'll figure out how to do it on the back end. So here's my question to you, going back to when you're dealing with clients. How do you preface some of your recommendations? Because I know with me, I'm a very diverse communicator. So I can figure out different ways to get you to, in a sense, do what we need you to do as the marketing team and make you think that you did it. So what are some of the steps that you take?
Well, one of my steps is because I tend to be a disruptor, is I don't ask.
Yay.
I
Tell. So instead of saying, would you like to do this photo shoot? I'm going to say, well, you have a photo shoot on Monday and you have a video shoot this day. Can you make room in your schedule for the following things for this campaign? Because if you ask, then they're going to be like, I don't know. Well, okay, next week. Okay, next month when I get, okay. And they're gonna like push it off. And so for the most part, I have to tell people, and that's another thing, that you have to stand in your authority, stand in your knowledge. You know what's best because that's what you study, like that's what you do. And even as lawyers, they're not going to ask the client, okay, well, how do you think I should approach the judge? They're not going to ask them that. So you have to stand in your authority and say, okay, this is what we're doing. And that's how I get things done for the most part.
Awesome.
Rose, what are your thoughts on this? I noticed you've been quiet with some of these lawyer comments from Kia. What do you think?
Kia is manipulating all of you.
I'm not easy to work with, and I'm
But
not even the hardest person to work with here. So he's got some challenges. But what I was thinking about is if you can talk a little bit about how things are changing, because I know like this digital landscape is always, like you said, you had a blog, like blogs were huge. Everybody had a blog. Like I followed so many blogs. The day that the Google Reader, like RSS feed that can like correlate all your blogs and give them to you at once went away, like changed my internet landscape completely. And of course there's social media, and now it's like everyone's got a podcast and everyone's got like a newsletter or Substack instead of a blog where they just send you your shit. So what kind of is there something on the horizon that's changing that we should be doing, or what's the landscape like?
Well, actually, Facebook changed their name today.
I was just
I am so
what is this?
So we're dropping balls. We're dropping them.
Meta.
Yeah, they changed it to Meta today. So that's a big thing. They're changing kind of the landscape of what they're doing because of all the criticism that they've been getting as far as like data. Yeah, they're trying to go towards the augmented reality space, the gaming space, all of that. And crypto space. So that's a big change.
What does all that mean? I don't know what all that means.
I have no idea, honestly. Okay. I really no idea.
Basically, they're trying to be Elon Musk.
Yeah,
they're trying to go down that road, make AI more scary. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, and this is one of the things about being a marketer, is like I forever have to learn new things, right? So with, the new Instagram, with TikTok, like everybody's like, you're on TikTok. I'm like, how am I not on TikTok? How can I not be on TikTok? So yeah, it's those are the new things that are emerging with Facebook. And Instagram updated a feature today with you had to have 10,000 followers to share a link with your followers on stories. And so now you can actually post a link on your stories to make people go directly from your stories to a website, which can be difficult because people don't like leaving the platform that they're on, but it gives an equal playing field to all the people who have under 10,000 followers, which is like most of the people on Instagram. So that's a really good thing to leverage right now as like business owners. And I don't think everybody has the update just yet because they announced it, I think yesterday or something along those lines. So that's a big thing that can be leveraged. But with all the changes, honestly, video content, and I think, as marketers, we say this all the time, video content is king. Leveraging video, repurposing video is going to be huge because at this point, the attention span of people is almost non-existent. So if you can't catch a person's attention within the first 3 seconds, and most photos, they're going to scroll past. So the video is king. TikTok, if you're not on TikTok, you should probably be on TikTok. If you're looking for something to like another platform to elevate your brand, that's important. Or at least do reels. So when these platforms come out with new features, as a business owner or as somebody that's trying to elevate their brand, you should use the new features, because they're going to push out the people who use them. They're going to put the people, like when Reels first came out, people were getting thousands and thousands of followers off of things that weren't even really viral. But because Instagram wants you to use the new features that they're putting out, now they're allowing the Reels to be shown on Facebook. So that's another portion. So just using video content and using Reels and TikToks and things of that nature, that's a tip that I can give people right now.
I have a question about TikToks. We've kind of dabbled in it at Basic Brooks, and I think we have good content, but we were just kind of seeing that the time and energy it takes was far too much for the payoff.
For sure.
But I wanted to I find this business very fascinating, because obviously you see more influencers and individual creators being more successful rather than brands on TikTok. Like brands will use influencers to get their voice out there. Obviously we can't really do that. But I noticed, you might recognize the name Lumberland. They make these mugs out of bats, but instead of showcasing their items and showcasing the processes and stuff, they actually do like quizzes. They'll be like, name this, like they'll interact with the employees there and guess what this movie is based on a poorly, said plot or whatever. What movie involves these three actors? And they go over around the whole firm and just ask that kind of stuff. And that's just content that's has their name on it, but it's not related to the business. Would that be something that you would think is good for a law firm? Because we don't want to seem too not serious, but what do you think about like that strategy?
Well, okay. You want me to put my strategic hat on?
Great question.
I have a few more questions.
I'm like, oh, okay. Well, okay, there's a balance, right? You don't have to do the silliest question in the world, but showcasing the different people who work at the law firm answering, a question that's not super serious, then yes, that is a good option. The NFL is doing it as well as like different teams, like different football teams. I've seen a lot of football teams do it. Like they'll ask like, I don't even know, like, is tomato a fruit or something like that? Like, or something very like controversial, but not too silly, but not also too serious, where they can see the personality of the different people in the office. Yes, it would be good to do something like that.
And I think you can, like, if somebody in our office has a big personality, the fans will be like, oh man, I love that one. I love that guy, or love that woman. Like, I want to hear more from her. For sure. And those videos, Carrie is a big TikToker, but those videos, easy, just film them real quick, ask somebody a question. It doesn't even have to involve an attorney, taking the attorney's time. So, maybe we could meet and strategize on that. Just came up with that idea just now.
But
I love TikTok though, because TikTok is so happy and it's so fun and it's so funny. And it's, I get educated a lot on TikTok, but I don't have to read. I find that myself, my own attention span is waning, and I want to see something really quick, and I want it to be happy and funny or cute and pretty, and then next, like I don't want to read what anybody thinks about anything, to be honest with you. So I think
for a while, I think our brand, like our social media, we focused on content, like legal content, like the blogging of different, and that is valuable information, but it does not get people to click on it on Facebook. Right. And so
we follow trends, we did some trends, but based on kind of boring stuff.
And especially women. So Bianca, how can a woman like let's take a female lawyer, for instance, just because I am one, so I know, but like a female banker or a female real estate agent or whatever, like how can you be on TikTok and be funny and be sexy and not water down your professional brand? Like, how do you balance all that? Because you want your personality to come through, which might be fun and funny and quirky and odd, but you don't want to be like oh, well, she's not taking
She's
her job seriously
unprofessional.
as a lawyer. Right.
Right. I think we all know where the line of tasteful content is drawn. Like, so I think as long as you stay within taste, like a tasteful content where things are fun and cute and you're having a good time and you're genuinely just showing people who you are, then you can maintain your professionalism. Because I am a very silly person. So for me, it's natural for me to do the silly videos and joke around on TikTok because that's just who I am. And if you can't take me serious past that, then really where are we living? What kind of world are we in, right? Like, I mean, if people can't do business with you because they saw you laughing on TikTok or having a joke, then really, I mean, they weren't going to do business. If that's the key factor, then they weren't going to do business with you anyway. They were looking for something to say that was wrong. So I think as long as it's tasteful and you're not like, you know, nude or something, or, you know,
it's
just
like when we did our first group photo, the with the blue and the black, the first one, and it went out. I think it got like promoted on Twitter or something because it was going to people who were not, you know, followers of ours, and they were all commenting on it, on how like sexualized it was, just because we have women who are wearing skirt suits, like, oh, look at their legs, oh, they're pushing sex. And I'm like, we're just being ourselves. And those were like as professional as photos can get. So
yeah.
Just can't.
Well, one thing I do is ignore people.
Yeah.
Have to.
You post the content because you want to reach the people that it's supposed to reach, and in that it's going to reach the opposite, right? It's going to reach the people who want to just hate on you. There are some miserable people in this world. They're genuinely miserable and want to just like find things that are wrong, and so that comment gets deleted every single time. I'm deleting the comment, I'm hiding the comment. I don't care about what you think. If it's negative, if you're not bringing positivity to me, then I'm going to be deleting it. So
that's what I love about TikTok. Bring the hate comments on, because that's going to get more views. That's going to get more engagement
up there.
There's this thing on TikTok where like people from other countries, or like from Scotland, where are hating on like just the political system and the economic system of the United States, and they act like we're stupid and we don't know, like we don't know that they have it better over there. And so there's just like that keeps coming up on my For You page, and I almost commented, I'm so sick of seeing this, but then I'm like, that's just going to bring more of it on my For You page. So I was just like, not interested. Caught myself.
So Bianca, let me switch gears on you and ask you a question about podcasts. I'm the oldest person on this Facebook live video. I don't listen to podcasts. I can't find them. I don't know really what they are. I don't have time to listen to them, but everybody that I know is listening to them. Dana's listening to some awesome podcasts. So my question for you is, are podcasts good for branding? And how do podcasts like affect the vlogging and the blogging world? Should we all be podcasting, or should we just be focusing on vlogging or Insta, or what should we be doing?
When you list all of those things, I can see how people can get overwhelmed.
That's me.
Like blogging and tweeting and talking and all of these things. Okay, one thing that I love to do is repurpose content. That's my biggest thing. So for instance, you guys already have a show. This technically could be a podcast. You just have to get better mics, right? So then you can take the audio from this and put it as a podcast. So you don't have to overthink the process of distributing content. So the biggest thing is podcasts, just like TikTok, is an emerging thing. Like podcasts is taking over the world, right? Because people don't want to read, like you said. They want to consume information, but they want it in the simplest form. And so podcast gives you the opportunity to listen to something while you're doing something completely different, right? Because your attention span, can't focus on one thing. And another thing is that these platforms such as YouTube, Spotify, all of these different platforms are pushing out podcasts, right? So like I said, go with the new thing. Like if it's a trend, if it's popping up, you want to, hop on it because the platforms are going to be pushing it out. So yes, it is a good thing to start a podcast or be on a podcast. However, if you don't have capacity for it, if you're barely posting, let's focus on one thing at a time, right? Like let's do video content to start off because we know that that's top, right? But if you have different things that you're already doing, you have a show, you have videos, you guys have photos, you have, a whole department that can help you guys with these things, then you can leverage what you're doing already and just kind of take the content from there and then upload it as like a podcast or a YouTube video or anything like that.
With respect to videos and vlogging and podcasts, what is the length of time you need to aspire for? Is it like 30 seconds or a minute? Or I know podcasts are probably longer, obviously, because that's talking and viewing and stuff like that. But for videos, let's start with videos. What's the amount of time?
Well, videos like I said, in the first 3 seconds, if you're not capturing somebody's attention, that's really where you want to get the content. Like you want the grabber within the first 3 to 5 seconds. Once you pass that, you can say you can be on there as long as you want to. But most of the time people are going to watch your video for 15 to 30 seconds. So that's why TikTok is so popular, because when it first started, it was only like 30 seconds. And now they're going into the 3-minute, 1 minute to 3 minute video because they see that people are staying on their platforms longer. So you can have longer form content. For instance, I can tell you my strategy with this call, right? So I've asked Whitney to provide me the raw video, right? So I'm going to take that content and there's probably things that I've said in here that can be 15 seconds. Like I can post it out and it's a 15-second clip. But there's also content on here that that it should be a longer form video, and that can be 1 minute to 3 minutes. So it's a good balance of all of them, because especially within like being a lawyer or being a professional, you want to give the content the time, right? You want to be able to give good information, and sometimes that takes longer. So if you can give something within 15 seconds, definitely do that. But if you have a longer form content, that's also good. So a good balance is important.
I'm glad.
That reminds me of Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he does those like, 1 minute. Obviously I learned this in school, but there's like 1 minute, just really like inspirational, like holy crap kind of things. And I feel like you could get from this video, just like get little 1 minute things. I love that. Yes, for sure. And sometimes the content you don't have to overthink the content. Like sometimes it's just you and your phone and you're on your way, you're driving. Don't drive and make content ever. Sorry. It's this, I promise you. If it's bad, it's always weird.
No, that sounds horrible. Don't do that. But when you get to the building, right, and you're walking in, you can literally film like a motivational phrase that maybe you think that people, or something that has inspired you today, or things of that nature. And it can be 5 to 10 seconds. And that's content right there. And it's just, like you said, like we said earlier, being consistent and repetition is just showing up, right, as you consistently. So,
yeah. And I'm so glad.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, she hit the nail on the head. I'm just glad she's here, because Bianca and I have had these type of conversations. And as I told you guys, I'm a thinker, I'm analytical. So the moment I start seeing people and I know my lights just went out, but we'll be okay. Seeing people talking about on the slide. There you go. It moved. The moment I start seeing people being apprehensive, I go into my brain and I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. But Bianca, you and I have had these conversations about purposing, putting things back out there. But again, I'm glad you're iterating, what the narrative and different things should be and what we can use over and over again, because really it's all about using your content and placing it in different places over and over again. And I think this is great from a small business aspect all the way up until, our business, what we do. So I'm glad you're throwing all of this out there, because it'll definitely allow us to, we don't always have to be so grand. because we already are
Yes.
that. That's the same thing
And
with people in their small businesses as well. Just rethinking what you're already doing.
being and sometimes being grand is kind of like not as beneficial to your brand, because people like authentic. So sometimes the blurry photo, sometimes the blurry video like shows that you're actually working, you're on the go. I mean, it doesn't look the best, and you don't have to do it all the time, but for the sake of like just showing who you are in real life, right, is important. And so sometimes it's okay to not have the highest quality or the best, you know, video all the time.
We'll get in trouble with branding. You can't say that.
That's a part of being authentic, is part of the brand. Sometimes you don't have the videographer following you everywhere. Sometimes you have your phone.
With you and Brandon, with this Virgo over here, no, we can't. It's hard. It's gonna be hard to put me. I'll be like, okay, sure, let's put something sloppy up. Sure. Like my live.
No, I didn't say sloppy. I just
tragic.
said like a little. You know, it's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. You know,
agreed.
A balance.
Yeah, so I think, and Dana just texted this, one of the best videos we ever had was when Jimmy and our driver pulled away from Busy Bee and left Dana stranded.
Yes, I
Busy
remember
Bee.
that. I remember that video.
And Dana pulled out her phone and she's like, y'all would never believe this. I am a high-powered lawyer from Tallahassee, and my law partner just left me. And then you had Jimmy on the phone, on his phone in the car, like, oh my God, I just left my law partner. But that was really
He pulls
good.
up and they're both filming at the same time, like content.
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah,
well, Rose, what are your closing thoughts? Because we're kind of coming to the end of this hour. I know we started a little bit late, and I'm sorry, that was kind of my bad. I got stuck on a call later than I thought. But Rose, what are your kind of closing thoughts or questions or what?
I've just really enjoyed this. I like how like granular and strategic it was. It's a lot different than kind of the higher conceptual stuff that we can tend to talk about. So this was very, I think, informative for us and me personally and our brand as a firm, and hopefully for other people too. Because yeah, like you can, you know, start out doing something and you can do it just for yourself or, you know, to enjoy it. But, you know, most people, if they're putting out, you know, writing or something, they want people to see it and get a benefit from it. So you got to make sure people see it if you're posting it. So I think that's been very informative for everybody here to see how we can get ourselves out there more. I mean, we're already out there, but and do it in more in interesting ways. And you know, it's social media for a reason. People called that, you know, people want to see you. They want to, you know, be your friend. Be your friend.
And you don't have to be, you don't have to be perfect when you're doing it. And that makes me feel like very relieved that Bianca said that. You can just be you and it's okay.
Right.
So that gives me some confidence. I'm looking at Bianca's website. It's been on behind my screen the whole time, and she's got like this ticker of her own pictures. And her picture, she's so confident. You exude confidence. And I'm looking at you, I'm like, oh my God, I need that confidence. Like, how do I get that? And you're just so smooth, and it's just awesome. I love your pictures.
I appreciate that. I have to get out of my own head sometimes. So the confident, you know, the phrase fake it till you make it. Sometimes the confidence is not there, but I know that like, if I don't put myself consistently, if I'm not consistent, then, you know, I can't promote my brand. I can't, and which is me. Like I have to feed myself because I do like food, right? So I have to continuously put myself out there. And yeah, sometimes you just have to do it when you don't want to. And that's the biggest thing, is doing the things when you feel like, not today.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Kia, what about you? Any closing thoughts or questions?
I think it was all of your tips and things that you were bringing to the table. Like you said, you were already prepared, but of course I told you we were going to take you probably down another road.
Yes.
But just talking about reinventing your personal brand as you grow, you know, as we keep growing and small businesses keep growing, they definitely have to keep in mind that they have to continue to keep rolling with the rebranding. For instance, you know, Facebook, they are now Meta. It almost reminded me of Meta World Peace, but I think all of the things that you gave us in regards to those tips and the things that they need to know about was great. And I thank you for that. You know, we bother each other all the time.
Whitney, what about you? Any closing remarks, thoughts, opinions, ideas?
I've talked a lot, but we seriously are going to implement some ideas that you brought up, or just definitely spark some ideas for us for sure. Kia and I are going to have to get with the team about it. But thank you so much for being on, Bianca. This was awesome.
Yeah, Bianca, for me, Bianca, for me, I think I've learned that this evens the playing field. So like, we go up against Morgan & Morgan all the time, and Morgan & Morgan has a budget that's 30 times greater than ours, and they're, radio, buses, billboards everywhere. But, we can compete with them because we are on social media and we are building our brands, and we're trying to do it on multiple platforms, and we are genuine and we are authentic and we are who we are. So I think that evens the playing field, and it allows like smaller businesses to compete with the larger conglomerates. And I think that's that's been a big learning point for me today. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it definitely evens the playing field. And you guys, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? So if you guys are those people, then you guys are always going to be in business and they're always going to contact you.
That's awesome. So Bianca, where can people find you online? And we will put up your information on our website and on our social media so people can find it. But for anybody that's watching right now, go ahead and plug your website and tell people where they can find you.
For sure. You can find me at acreativestation.com. That's acreativestation.com. A creative station on pretty much every platform: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or if you would like to follow me personally, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Bianca Belabre. That's Belabre, like this little sign right here. And so so you can type in my name and you guys can follow me on Instagram. I'd follow you back. I love new followers and collaborating and talking to new people. So I look forward to
this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time and all of your tips and all of your recommendations and your experience. It's been really inspirational. And thank you everybody who's been watching us for another wonderful, awesome, inspirational hour of the Empower Hour, brought to you by the Empower Plant. And we'll see you next Thursday at 4:30 on Facebook Live.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Bianca.
Bye. You're welcome.